Good morning and welcome, Yankees Nation. I'm Ken, and this is the ugly truth. Today, we are going to go over the first series of the season for the Yankees, and we're going to follow that up with a preview of our second series versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. As usual, this is going to be an open panel, and I am going to drop the link here. So anyone wanting to come up, feel free. The link is down there for y'all. So come on board and let's hear what you got to say. I'm going to give a shout out to the folks that have joined us on this broadcast this morning. Morning, Jonathan, 01, Nosebleed, and Cold Italian Pizza. The season for the Yankees has started out quick with a little bit of controversy and has been exciting for us Yankee fans, much more than I think that any of us would have expected. Our first game featured Freddie Peralta versus Carlos Rodon. In my opinion, Carlos Rodon was the hero of the first game. He managed to complete 5 1/3 innings. He struck out 7 and only walked 2, gave up a solo home run. I see Jonathan here. We will bring him up.
Hi.
Jonathan, how are you?
I'm good. I've heard a lot of bats, and I want a lot of things about the bats, and I want to say, and this is the one thing that bothers me: the Yankees. Everybody said the Major League Baseball said these bats were legal. The Yankees used them. They created a bat that benefits them. They've studied this. They created a bat for their own benefit, which Major League said it's legal. So why is everyone who criticizes the Yankees' success with a brand new bat? I mean, this is one thing I've never considered about analytics. I never thought in my mind before this year that designing a bat that fits your own swing and how that could help you. So I don't want to hear how when every team has this ability, why did it only when the Yankees use it for their own benefit do they complain? Any team could do it.
Well, I'll get into the torpedo bat. I did drop a video yesterday with the truth about the torpedo bat. However, yesterday the Atlanta Braves put in an order for torpedo bats for their team.
Yes, I've been watching Jason. He mentioned that.
And let's see, we have Sean in the background, so we'll bring him up. Last night, Ellie De La Cruz used the torpedo bat. He had two home runs in the game. Afterwards, Tito Francona commented about the torpedo bat. He thinks that the bat is fine, but it's more the player than anything. Another player who is using the torpedo bat is Francisco Lindor. Lindor, for the first 3 games of the season, went 0 for 11 with the torpedo bat. So hence, it depends on the player that is actually using it. If they're able to, the bat is nothing more than a tool.
Yeah, it's just like remember 50 years ago, or even when Babe Ruth played, they used to use these 45-ounce bats. These days, no one would use a 45-ounce bat.
Yeah, swinging tree
If
trunks.
if you look at it, over the last 8 years or so, they've used labs for pitching, getting more spin rate, getting velocity.
And
Out of pitchers.
can I add one thing to that? The pitching, the velocity increase, I think, has also increased the arm injuries, and I think that has the way they pitch has to be changed to take into consideration the arm injuries, not just the pitch speed.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
part of that, I'm gonna hop on that one. With regard to the injuries, they have a study that indicates that 74% of those injuries happen between spring training and the first month of the regular season. Some of the major league pitchers have commented that in the past, pitchers would ramp up slowly, but nowadays, with every pitch analytic being measured, pitchers feel the need to compete from the word go. So they're not really building up to the velocity or the spin rate, and they are trying to hit maxes in spring training.
Oh, that
Whether
is
it
a
be
mistake.
whether that be that they make the team as a young rookie or a veteran trying to hold on to a spot. But that is definitely a contributing factor. Back to the torpedo bat, if you look at the generations of bats, there has not truly been any innovation in the last 30 years with regard to baseball bats. So the natural progression the Yankees took was to customize bats that suited their players. Cody Bellinger, as a Cub last year, demoed the bat, and he didn't like it. He didn't like the weight distribution, and he tried a different variant this year and has been very successful with it.
yeah, I mean, well, you know that there's two types of bats that are illegal. That's the cork bats. You can't use them outside of batting practice. Chris Sebo had that happen in the early 90s or late 80s.
That's the
He
Georgia
used the cork bat.
Yes.
And Sammy Sosa did that in the 90s, early 2000s. He got caught because the bat broke in half. And the ump looked and he saw it was corked. And then the other one is like too much pine tar, like George Brett. But other than that, all the bats have to be approved. Just to be used in exhibition, they have to be approved by the commissioner's committee.
Bringing up a comment from Cold Italian Pizza. Brewers got hammered again yesterday. Kind of think the problem is their pitching. Well, I completely agree with you. I don't believe that the bat is a superpower. It is the skill of the players. And if you look at the Brewers as a actual rotational staff, they are not a high-end staff. This week, when we face the Diamondbacks and the Pirates, you're going to see some high-leverage pitchers, much closer to the top of the scale. I believe we actually faced Paul Skeens this go-around, and he handed us our butts in the last series of the season. So we're going to face our first true test against Corbin Burns today, a pitcher that we faced last year as an Oriole, and he was quite successful against us. But
he was quite
we'll talk
successful
about that later.
But we did get to him. I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera got up, for a couple home runs. So, but
yeah, we'll have a lot more. We'll have a lot more to this. I think the criticism with the torpedo bat is this game against Cruz the critics of the bat will really find out if what they think is correct or not.
I think there was.
How using
Go ahead,
all.
Sean.
Well, I was saying there's also Marlins players using it. The Braves, they some of them put in something to use the bat. So yeah, there's different.
The Braves ordered it.
Yeah, Braves put in an order for it. So there's people across the league using it. So it's not like. But I think the real big issue is, I mean, look at the guy who turned it into a big issue, Portnoy. He's a beat writer for the Boston Globe, which is owned by the owners of the Red Sox. And he's a Red Sox guy. And the Yankees are the arch rivals to the Red Sox. Plus, we're being the evil empire again. So, of course, he's gonna, try and make it sound like we were cheating and that, Judge is using.
Well, Trevor McGill, the closer for the Brewers, made similar comments post-series, and he basically said, well, because it's the Yankees, they'll get away with it, and that's total crap. Didn't do his homework, didn't follow up.
If that was true, A-Rod would have never been suspended for a year.
I don't know that, but I mean, do you remember when Darryl Strawberry got busted in Miami for cocaine in the off season? It was like 90 whatever. It was during a sting operation. They didn't let him off the hook because he was a Met or a Yankee or whatever,
People get held accountable. The people who this affects negatively, the opponents are always going to complain about something. Just because they're using a new technology that the opponents are not familiar with and they got destroyed, they're going to complain about it because they lost.
Well, like any new innovation and tool, you're going to have teams that are going to develop countermeasures to the torpedo bat. Because the density spot is closer to the label, I think that you're going to find more pitchers trying to hit the points low and away or high and away to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat or off the sweet spot.
I think eventually you're going to see more outside pitching to the outside of the plate. And that might benefit guys like Judge who have long arms, who can just negate the outside part of the plate because of how big they are. And if it's too far outside, it's just going to be a ball.
Part of my questions with regard to the torpedo bat, there was an article that someone on the coaching staff, I see Ray Klickner hopping in. Welcome, Ray. That a staff member was fired because he made recommendations to Stanton about changing his bat. I'm curious if he used the torpedo bat, and that's what led to his elbow injuries.
That's something we'll never know.
Yeah. No, and we don't know what kind of bat it was, whether it was a heavier or lighter bat or whatever. But, I mean, Giancarlo has always had one of the most violent swings, if not the most violent active swing in all of baseball.
Yep.
So if it was up to me, I would probably tell Giancarlo to maybe not have such a violent swing and be have a more level swing and not try to hit for the fences all the time, and that may reduce the injuries that he's had because he swings with such aggression. That swinging with a little bit less aggression might help his elbows.
Yeah,
I mean, it will definitely it might take away some of his power, but if he gets a double or a single and doesn't get it doesn't get injured, that's better than getting a home run and being out for 2 months because of hurting an elbow.
I mean, everything he hits is about 100 miles per hour. So I mean,
more than 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it's like 110, 115 mile per hour off the bat. Yeah, I mean, he could hit from but I think his power is natural, and his swing might just be natural. But yeah, if he did try it, maybe tweak it a little bit, but it may take a minute to readjust.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Giancarlo Stanton is Giancarlo Stanton. He does what he's done his entire career. Asking him to swing off of how he's played his entire career is probably not going to happen. We have 3 seasons left to watch him do his magic, hopefully in the postseason.
And remember
Stephen B has hopped in. So
remember one thing about Stanton's contract. Starting next year, the Marlins are paying $10 million of it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So Yankees have $10 million extra money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jonathan, what is your narrative on the opening series for the Yankees? How do you feel about it? What are the highlights, lowlights, things that stick out in your mind?
Well, the highlights are the batting, of course. I love the batting. The big negative about it was the fielding and the infield defense. If they can figure out the infield defense, then I think this team had a chance to repeat what they did last year, hopefully in a different outcome. But if they cannot figure out the infield defense, then we're just going to be disappointed at the end of the year. But I think out of everything the Yankees have, maybe a starting pitching, depending on later in the season. Although I think one guy is coming back soon. But also, I think I have the infield defense might be the biggest Achilles heel.
Okay, I see FJ has hopped on. Welcome, brother. Same question to you, Sean.
Yeah. No. Again, my big highlight is it's a more balanced offense. And yes, we exploded for 36 runs in 3 games. But it's a more balanced offense. It's not top heavy like it was the last few years, where it was just Judge and Stanton, or Judge, Soto, and Stanton, and then everyone else. But it's a more balanced lineup. Everybody's clicking, which is good. And then with the low line, I think the infield lineup, the defense, I think some of it might have been the jitters with the errors. But the other thing was when Max Fried signed up, I was scratching my head Max Fried started, I was scratching my head up when they had Pablo Reyes starting at third, and I was like, I don't have anything against Pablo Reyes, but I was like, everybody knows Max Fried's a ground ball pitcher. So why not have your best defensive lineup, or your defensive, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, alignment, especially on the hot corner. But I mean, we still scored so many runs that game, so it kind of negated it. But
to your point, the third base option is one reason why I thought signing a guy like Urshela, who was on the team, who was successful here, would have been a good idea, to have someone who's familiar with New York, who plays good third base defense, and didn't cause any problems in New York. I think the Yankees missed out on a good potential option as a steady third base.
Yeah, I mean, the other option besides Urshela was Nolan Arenado, but we'd have to get him to waive his.
Well, the point of Urshela is he was a free agent, so he could have come here on a 1-year low risk option. We all know, regardless of what Steinbrenner said he didn't want to spend a lot of money on every position. He was going out there he spent big on a pitcher. He wasn't going to spend big on a pitcher and a position player. So that's one reason why I think Urshela. Yes, Urshela is also a righty bat. So, but
Yeah.
I think Urshela should have been an option for third base due to the fact he has a good history with them. Anyway, I have 10 minutes left, so I have to get going. Thank
Okay.
you again for having me.
Thanks for hopping on, Jonathan. Appreciate your comments and your support. Have a good one. Gonna address this comment by Nosebleed section. I really like the lineup structure, good mix of youth and veterans. I completely agree with you. I think that Cashman has done a better job than most people are giving him credit for assembling this team post Juan Soto. He addressed a lot of needs that we had with regard to actual lineup structure, many more options that hit left-handed pitching, as demonstrated against Nestor Cortez on Saturday. More contact hitters that are playing smart, and even if they're getting outs, they're productive outs. The Yankees have taken the extra base when given the opportunity, incorporating the speed component of the game, and we saw that throughout the Brewers series. Cortez versus Fried, game 2. I think part of Fried's problem, other than the errors, was the Yankees' hitting barrage had him sitting for prolonged amounts of time. As a former pitcher, when you're in game time, you're thinking off the mound, 10 minutes on the bench, then you're back on the bump again. You're in sync, and Fried is one of the most solid fielding pitchers in the game, and he had an error. Mm-hmm. Some of it perhaps nerves, some of it rushing, some of it I know that we batted around the first 3 innings of the game, and he was sitting idle on the bench for damn near a half hour shot. So I think that messed with his timing. Him trying to get resynced caused problems. Is that a bad thing? Well, no, because the bullpen stood up and did what they needed to do.
But yeah,
go ahead.
Well, no, and to Max Fried, I'm not really worried about it, because I mean, you added legit different things, and then the sitting long term, because of your lineup your offense batted around, that does affect, because your arm kind of cools down in that time period. There's different things that can kind of go awry, but and then also the other thing is, you look at how balanced our lineup is. We manufactured runs on top of home runs. So it wasn't just, the last few years, it was like, Ryan walk here, station to station. We mainly relied on home runs. Maybe we got like, a walk-off single or whatever, here and there. But we're a whole lot better situational at bats. I saw that during the game. Like in the first game, Judge's first hit, runners in scoring position, a double off the third base bag, Hey, it was weird, but but it was situational, and that was 2 runs that we needed in the game.
The the staff in Game 1 ended up striking out 13 Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
6 of them came out of the bullpen, and the only run that was given up by the bullpen was Devin Williams's ninth inning close when he ended up with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah.
Unlike, I mean, I sat back and I was shaking my head. I was like, holy shit, is this a Clay Holmes event about to happen? But he had managed to see Dev hopping in, managed to close out the game, giving up 1 run. He struck out 2 of the last 3 batters, and was able to get himself out of the jam. When we had Holmes, if we were in that same situation, we were screwed.
Right.
So, good acquisition. There might have been some reasons, like him having pitched his entire career for Milwaukee, and they had his number, his airbending pitch. They were sitting off of it when they saw it coming. No swings.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying in life and at different places, but over familiarity is deadly. Because when you get over familiar, you get too comfortable. And then that's what I really chalk that into, because, like you said, the Brewers have known him. He came up through the system. He pitched his whole career with the Brewers. You know, we traded for him in spring training.
I think the same thing is applicable to Nestor Cortez because of the Yankees' familiarity with him. It's not like he was going to fool them with what he had.
Right.
I
mean,
mean,
Judge
we had major league history by hitting, never happened before in the game, 3 pitches, 3 home runs. You don't think that the Yankees being overly familiar with Nestor Cortez didn't have something to do with that one?
Oh yeah. You know, it's deep. I mean, it's yeah. And Judge even said it when people are asking him. He said, "No, we know Nestor. We know it, and he's got nasty stuff." He said, "But we just knew what he and we worked, and that's what it come down to, you know."
Well, part of what I was surprised with, Nestor Cortez has a bag of tricks, whether it be the delayed leg kick or quick
3
pitching.
different angles.
But you didn't see him utilizing any of that stuff to disrupt hitter timing.
No, and he also has the ability to throw from different arm angles.
Yeah, slots.
So, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cortez go out in his next start and pitch 5 to 6 innings of 2-3 hit ball, giving up no runs. He is a quality pitcher. A lot of fans were really happy when he left. I wasn't one of them. I thought he had stuff. I mean, he was a high 3 pitcher in the 5 slot.
Yeah.
One of the best in the league as a 5 starter. So,
yeah. I was excited that we got Devin Williams.
Yeah,
but I wasn't.
Of course.
I wasn't excited that we gave up Nestor. It was kind of like, because like you said with Nestor, he's a guy that's solid pitcher, 3, 4, 5, but he could throw you 6, 7 innings, go through 6, 7 innings with all that funky stuff. Like I grew up with I really remember when El Duque broke in the leagues, you know, and the high leg kick, it became a dance. But he could throw you from all 3 different arm angles, and then he would just strike out guys, and then he'd get you 6, 7 innings every start or nearly every start. And then he was clutch in the big season. But the problem with Nestor, he kept having shoulder problems.
Well, that's a pitcher's Achilles heel, no matter who it is, whether it's Cortez or now you could say Garrett Cole.
Right.
So he had significant losses with him for 2 seasons. If you look at Luis Hill, He had Tommy John surgery and is out for the first part of this season. So
Yeah, and I mean,
it's a pitching thing, and Cole has never had an injury history whatsoever.
no, and but also with Nestor, what was it, a couple seasons ago, 2022, where he doubled his career innings or whatever,
Right.
and then after that, he just he had shoulder issues, and it was just like it was hard. But I mean, he gave us all. He was a gamer. I mean, a lot of people want to give him for giving up the walk-off grand slam to Freddie Freeman in the World Series, and I get it. But at the same time, the dude came back from a shoulder injury to pitch, and and you put him in there to face Ohtani, which he has great success against Ohtani. But because Manfred's rule, you gotta face 3 batters instead of doing a specialist. Like in the old days, use him to pitch to Ohtani, and then you bring in Tim Hill for Betts and Freeman.
Well, past is past. It's
Right.
nothing that, no matter how many times you go over, is going to change.
But I also think Freeman would have probably hit a home run regardless of who's pitching.
Some of the other highlights from Game 2, people talking about the torpedo bat. That's what sparked our controversy to begin with, was the 9 home runs in Game 2. Aaron Judge, who was the hero of the game, had 3 of those damn home runs, and he is not hitting with a torpedo bat. He drove in 8 RBIs in conjunction, his career high, and doesn't have anything to do with the bat.
And he was inches away from having 4 homers in the game.
Yep. His last official at bat that he banged the double off the right field wall, I thought that one was gone too.
Yeah, that was the one I was talking about, because it was near the top of the wall when it banged off the wall. It was like if it carried a little bit further.
The Game 3 of the series was Aaron Savelli versus Marcus Stroman. A lot of people thought that we were going to get cooked because Stroh was on the mound. Personally, I thought that he would keep us in the game and get us close to the 5th inning. He pitched 4 2/3. He had 3 strikeouts. Our hero for Game 3 was Jazz Chisholm. Jazz Chisholm had 2 home runs and 5 RBIs in that game. The team ended up pulling 4 total home runs. Aaron Judge hit one out in the 1st inning, so we've started a trend where we're hitting home runs early in the game to get an early lead, and the pitchers are having confidence and be able to build off that. For me, the key thing for Game 3 was the bullpen. You had shutdown performances from Tim Hill, Leiter Jr., Fernando Cruz, and Yarbrough. Between the 4 pitchers, they ended up dinging 7 strikeouts. Something that we had last year were complaints about the bullpen not having swing and miss stuff, relying on the grounders. Well, this revamped version of the bullpen has definitely got swing and miss stuff. And all 3 games in the series, as I mentioned in our pre-series review, the first few weeks we were going to have to rely heavily on the bullpen.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at it. Rodon had 7, 8 strikeouts in Game 1.
So he had 7 in Game 1.
Yeah. Okay, 7 in Game 1. But yeah,
and I think if he didn't fall on his ass in the 4th inning on that unusual play to first, I think they pulled him early because of that. Because I think he still had gas in the tank.
Oh yeah, but And I also what I like too with Rodon, I don't know if you noticed, but he's not melting down like last season when they started hitting him or they were getting hit, he would kind of like just break down and just completely melt down.
During a couple of interviews with Rodon, one of the people that has helped him with trying to control his emotions is Yankee great Andy Pettitte, Mr. Cool himself. That was a guy who could give up a home run and then strike out the next 6 batters.
Oh yeah,
he was definitely a duck where he let the water roll right off of his back, and I think that served Carlos very well in Game 1, especially after he gave up that freaking laser shot home run.
Right. But yeah, and I mean Andy Pettitte always had that stare, no matter what. Just hat down low, stare just over his glove. But yeah, and then like you said, he was the master of cool, not letting you know. And I think that was part of what played into his pickoff being so deadly. His pickoff move being so great was you couldn't tell if you were trying to read what the pitcher was thinking. Pettitte was reading. You couldn't tell. And and Rodon, I'm so glad that he's working with Pettitte and that he's gotten better at. I mean, I like that he comes in amped, but yeah, controlling your emotions during the game, it's key.
I think that this season Carlos Rodon is going to be the pitcher that we signed up for. He didn't have a bad season. He had bad spurts last season, but long and short, he ended up with 16 wins. He was in the top 5 for wins in the American League.
Yeah.
So,
and he was our best pitcher in the postseason, aside from the World Series, where we were just getting clobbered by the Dodgers.
The series that we have coming up against the Diamondbacks, we are going to be in a dogfight. I have watched the Diamondbacks for years. Our first matchup is going to be Corbin Burns versus Will Warren.
Mm-hmm.
What version of Will Warren we're going to get, I don't know. But I tell you what, they're going to stress him with regard to slap hits, getting on base, taking the extra base. I think Judge and Bellinger are going to be countermeasures for them running a fucking muck.
Oh, no doubt about it. But they will try to. They will try to run on. They will definitely test Dominguez and left. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Grisham, or if we see Grisham start one of the games.
Well, in a couple of the games, you saw that later in the game, Dominguez was pulled, Grisham was set into center field, and Bellinger played left field. And I think that until we gain confidence in Dominguez's ability to play in the outfield in those tight games, you're going to continue to see him pulled. Regardless of what he's doing at the plate. He hasn't hit very well, but Dominguez has taken walks, helping drive the pitch count up for the pitchers. He's stolen bases, and he has even gone first to third. I didn't realize he was as fast as he actually is.
Yeah, I mean, Dominguez is making an impact.
He is a capable ball player. And I think, you may have a variant of Juan Soto with regard to real good bat, average fielder. I'm not sure what his red, yellow, green rating is for his arm, because I haven't really seen him
Well,
had
after
to have an outfield assist.
right, he hasn't. And then remember we had that UCL tear, and he had to go to Tommy John after he came up the first time a couple years ago, and he homered off of Verlander, and then he went off for like 8 games, and then and then it said a UCL tear, and I don't know what he did really in the minors as far as his arm strength, like you said. But remember, there's a whole lot of hype from this kid from when he signed when he was 16. And they were comparing him to Trout and to Mickey Mantle. And
Well, the long and short, Yankees media is partially responsible for that, and fan expectation is definitely responsible for that. I mean, hell, you have Lombard Jr., who a lot of fans wanted up at the major leagues playing third base this season, coming from high A.
yeah,
Is he ready? Is he ready to perform at the major league level? I don't think so.
no,
He may have looked good in spring training against inferior pitching. Is he ready for the everyday grind of major leaguers who make adjustments like no tomorrow?
and
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they fast tracked him through AA and AAA. But no, I don't. The Yankees don't normally just bring someone up from high A because, he had success in spring training and just throw him in the big leagues. And I mean, I know Lombard, his dad was a major leaguer. So that does play a role in it, but that's more of how he's used to it and how comfortable he is in baseball world, right?
Yeah.
Then
for game one, there are a couple of notable players that have had success against Corbin Burns on the Yankees. Paul Goldschmidt is the first and foremost.
right.
He's had 31 at bats against Burns. His average is at 323 and his OPS is 834. So he gets on base, and they're not cheap hits.
Right.
He is a solid ball player. The other player, he's only had 5 at bats, but he's hitting 400. It's Oswaldo Cabrera, and he's got an OPS of 1400 against Burns. So
Remember,
those are some key things for the Yankees in game one. Obviously, the Diamondbacks have never seen Will Warren, so they don't have any true recorded history against him.
No, I mean, Will Warren's had a cup of coffee in the majors, spot starts, but no, he hasn't faced. So this is going to be a test for Will Warren. But like you said, in Corbin Burns, I think because some of the Yankees have success with him, but then at the same time, like you said early on, he's had some success against our lineup, but our lineup's more balanced this year than it was the last couple of years when he faced us.
Right.
So, I think this is just gonna be one of those grind. We're just gonna have to grind out against him for that 5-6 innings. Do what we can, do a whole lot of small ball. But for Will Warren, because the way the Diamondbacks are, they're a small ball team. They're a track team pretty much because a lot of their guys are fast. They do push the envelope.
The only slow player on their team is Josh Naylor.
Right. And Naylor can actually move for a big guy.
But Naylor was brought in to cover their loss of Christian Walker. He is a big bat, and he hits home runs, a lot of them.
Naylor is their big bat, their slugger,
Actually, he's their number 2 big bat because their big bat. Because I wanted him from the Diamondbacks for third base, Eugenio Suarez.
Right. Oh yeah, I saw him in Seattle when he first came up, and because I lived in Tacoma for years, and so, but you would always hear, and they loved you, Suarez, and it was like
Suarez actually came up in the Reds organization and was
Mhm.
traded to Seattle.
Okay, well yeah, but when with Seattle, they were like big on him and Cano when he was still there before he got caught for popping hot. Um, the and as they were rebuilding, and you know how like they're big on Julio Rodriguez. Suarez had that hype around him in that area, and his game is he plays an all around type game. He's got power, but he's also a high average, a good eye. You know, it's not like hey, avoid. So
Here's a note from Cold Italian Pizza. It's going to be a cold night at the stadium. Doubt that the balls will be flying out like they have been. So that's going to be a stressor for us for situational hitting and utilization of the steals and taking the extra base.
yeah,
So,
and also I wouldn't be surprised if Judge got intentionally walked a couple times or one time. Because I mean,
I'm going to tell
especially
you. I'm going to tell you, Burns doesn't intentionally walk anybody.
okay, well, but I mean, if the manager decides to throw,
You'll have a dogfight with Torey Lovello and Corbin Burns, and Zach Gallen doesn't walk people either.
yeah, so
Not on purpose, at least.
they'll pitch. But I mean, I'm saying if Judge hits a couple home runs,
Yeah,
they might actually start going, "Hey, wait a minute." But no, but I think but like you said, it's gonna be a dogfight, and then with it being cold, it's gonna be a whole lot of small balls, and then we're just gonna have to take the extra bases, situational hitting, and we've been doing a lot better with it, you know. And I like how Jazz, his approach, I noticed the change. His mindset is like he's like, all right, they got me batting behind Judge. Well, if they walk Judge or Judge gets up, I'm gonna move him over. you know, he's not just swinging for the fences like he was doing when he first came over here. You know,
I agree completely.
and so I'm just. And then here's the thing, Wells. I was gonna ask you that. I think I tried to ask you that in Uncle Tat's channel. If Wells is your catcher now, has he won you over?
You know what? I haven't been a Wells fan his career with the Yankees. It's not that I didn't think that he could hit, but my presser for him was his pop time and throw to second base. I was getting pissed last year about he's a great defensive catcher as he's airmailing balls to Judge in center field consistently, or freaking really short hop and throws to second base that are no chance of gunning a runner. And Boston is one of those teams that is a speed magnet.
Mm-hmm.
The Diamondbacks, if you look at the Diamondbacks, most of their front office staffing and coaches came from the Red Sox. The Red Sox have retooled their team to be a hybrid of the Diamondbacks.
Right.
And you are going to see people running at will. The Diamondbacks have the philosophy that speed kills, and they will stress outfielders, they will stress catchers, and they're going to stress pitchers holding runners. So I haven't really seen, or nothing significant really comes to my mind with regard to Will Warren being able to hold runners on. But you have players like Corbin Carroll who have incredible start times, and if he hits a ball into the gap, when you see Carroll rounding second, if his freaking helmet falls off, he's at third, if not an inside the Parker. Another player that they have that is just as quick is their center fielder, Alec Thomas.
Right.
He does the same damn thing. And
they still have Quintel Marte.
Yeah, the runner-up for the MVP in the NL last year.
Yeah. You know, and like you said, there's just so many fast guys. But a lot of it's gonna have to come down to how Wells calls the game. And then yes, I agree. He needs to improve with the pop time and actually making the throw to second, not airmailing it, not a two-hopper, you know, to Volpe or Jazz. But, you know,
the pitchers are going to have to help with that. Marcus Stroman, extremely slow delivery and does not really hold runners on. Carlos Carrasco is another pitcher who will be up in the hopper against the Diamondbacks, is also a slow delivering pitcher with a high leg kick.
Yeah.
Advantage runners.
You know what? It's kind of wild. I mean, but the good thing is Brad Osmus is a former catcher. And so I think he's probably working behind the scenes with Wells on getting.
Well, you can work behind the scenes all you want. Whether it takes, it's hard to say. You had Gary Sanchez with the Yankees, who was a phenomenal gun throwing a second. Could not stop a ball to save his life. You had
Right.
Joe Girardi, excellent defensive catcher, working.
Well, and then Rob Thompson.
He had Pena,
Mm-hmm.
Another spectacular catcher, defensive catcher, working with him. They could never get him to work as a catcher at the major league level.
Well, and now Gary Sanchez is primarily a DH.
Well, he's a backup catcher for the Orioles.
Right, but
behind Adley Rutschman. Yeah.
He spends most of his time DHing because when he was with the Giants, he was DHing and catching, you know, backup catcher role. The same thing when he was with the Brewers, and then now with the Orioles.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just I know that time's still out there, and I'm willing to be patient. I mean, I like the way he calls the game, and I do like how he is at the plate. You know, because
one of the things that he gets a lot of accolades about is his pitch framing,
right?
Which he does a good job of it. However, hey, well, Real Bill, welcome to the stream. If the ABS system is implemented, pitch framing won't make a difference. That'll be an art of the past.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like, you know, that automated, that little pitch caller, you know, button thing, pitch com. It's kind of taken away from the old school game calling. The art of, you know.
Well, if it's damn near a necessity though. If you look at like the Japanese pitchers that have a repertoire of 6 and 7 pitches, how many are you going to hold both hands down to show freaking signs?
Well, you can
first sign indicator. I mean, it's how the hell would you? Okay, give me your 4 best pitches because that's what we're using.
Right. No, and I do understand that too. And then also the other thing, I know they're so paranoid about sign stealing.
Yep.
And but yeah, I mean, yeah, but no, it does make sense that so many pitchers have like 5, 6, 7, 8 pitches. So yeah, it would be, I mean, unless they all learn sign language, and you could.
Our own Max Fried has 6 pitches that he uses regularly.
Right.
So.
You know.
All right, our Diamondbacks Game 2 matchup is going to be Zach Gallen versus Carlos Rodon.
That's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a real good one. As far as standout players versus Rodon or Gallen, there aren't any. They're all. We faced Gallen last year, and he handed us our ass.
Right.
That was our first loss of the season was to Zach Gallen.
Right, and that was the only time we faced him in his career.
Carlos Rodon, the players that he's handled, there's not a large number of at-bats, but there's nobody who really has any significant numbers, including long balls.
Right. I mean,
so that I think is going to be the best game of the series for us is game 2.
right.
Game 3 is going to have Merrill Kelly matching up with Carlos Carrasco. A little bit nervous about that one. Notable players against Carrasco from the Diamondbacks, there aren't any. For the Yankees versus Merrill Kelly, small sample size with Austin Wells, 5 at-bats, 400 average, and 1,400 OPS.
I'm surprised.
Bellinger has 26 at-bats against him. He's hitting .269 with 2 homers, 5 RBIs, and a 944 OPS.
Right.
So they've seen each other, and Belly has the opportunity to get on top of him.
Right. And also the thing, too, I think there might be a little advantage in game 2 with us is the fact that Goldschmidt and Bellinger played in the National League, so they've seen Gallen a lot. And even if they didn't have much success, they know, so they can give a little bit of a scouting report. But also, I'm surprised Max Fried's not pitching game 3, but I'll give it.
Got to get Carrasco in there. You've got
So
Carrasco pitched an inning, which would have been his bullpen the other day, and he wasn't too good.
Yeah, no, and I do understand that you got to get him in, and we got to kind of form the rotation. And because we had those 2 days off, the Friday and then Monday, yesterday, off, it's kind of.
Comment from Cold Italian Pizza. I'll feel a lot better about the staff when Schmidt and Heel are back in the mix. No arguments there.
None. I mean, Schmidt, as much as people want to try to dog him sometimes, he's been solid, reliable, and each year he's gotten steadily better.
Hey, CT, welcome to the stream.
And then Hill is electric. He got reeled up, real deal stuff.
The key things for the Diamondbacks for this 2025 season, the team's batting average is a .329. It's second in Major League Baseball. They've scored 27 runs, 5th in Major League Baseball. Now their Achilles heel. Their ERA is a 5.25, 25th in baseball. Their WHIP is a 1.31, and it's 17th in baseball. Averages, the key players for the Diamondbacks. Josh Naylor is hitting .400. Ketel Marte is hitting .333.
Right.
Homer crew, Eugenio Suarez has 4 dingers already.
Mm-hmm.
RBI leaders for the Diamondbacks are Eugenio Suarez with 7 and Geraldo Perdomo with 5. There are a handful of them that have 3. So they have the potential to put the bat on balls and make the plays. And I will tell you what, Ketel Marte scares the crap out of me.
No,
I've seen him from a fledgling ball player, and he is a beast. He hits at will. He hits to all fields. You can't put a shift on this guy.
No.
And it seems like every time you need it, he hits into the power alley and is gone.
Well, both Martes, I would have, because Ketel Marte and even Sterling Marte, I was hoping we'd get either one of those, but whatever, it didn't happen. But like you said, both of them they're super fast, and they just hit the ball to all fields, foul line to foul line. He got some power, but he's just an all-around player, and
all right. Here are your Yankee stats from this season. The Yankees are hitting .333 for batting average, first in baseball. We've scored 36 runs, second in baseball. The only team that scored more is the Dodgers, who've played 2 more games than us.
Right.
Our ERA is a 3.33, 16th in baseball. Our WHIP is a 1.26 with which is 13th in Major League Baseball. So we have a slight advantage in the pitching over the Diamondbacks pitchers. We have a slight advantage in runs and average and OPS against the Diamondbacks. Our key hitters, team leader is Aaron Judge with a 5.45 average. Out to all those haters who freaking said Judge was cooked last year because he hit like shit in the beginning of the year. He ain't hitting like crap now. Goldie is hitting .417. Jazz is hitting .417. And Belly is hitting .400. So,
Yeah.
New acquisitions, all doing very well. And it ain't the damn torpedo bat.
No.
Home runs, our home run parade. Aaron Judge with 4. Jazz with 3, Wells and Volpe both with 2. RBIs, Judge with 11, Jazz and Belly with 6, Volpe with 4. People have been crying for Volpe to step out and do something. Guess what?
Hey.
This may be the season that he actually does it.
Yeah, and the thing with Volpe too is he's making an impact, which is what you want. I mean, with the feet and. He doesn't have to hit, 3 homers a game to be, he's not Judge. But
the team has showed that early that we've hit a lot of long balls, but they've also showed that we can situationally hit and score, even in the spring training, in many, many different ways. So I'm not really worried about the Yankees offense. I think that we're capable of putting up 5 runs or more a game.
Right. I mean, I'm more worried about consistency. I'm not worried about the offense because it showed, like you said, but can we, and we've already done it this season so far, in the game so far, but it's only 3. But can we consistently put 4, 5 runs a game? Because remember we would score 14 runs one game and then be shut out for the next 3 games.
Well, we scored 20 runs and then scored 12 right next to it.
Right. So, a lot of that is answering my questions about that. But yeah, I mean, and the defense.
We're talking a small sample size. It's 3 games.
Right.
Last year, we locked up with the Astros in our first series and swept them.
Mm-hmm.
Second series was against the Diamondbacks, and we took 2 out of 3.
Right.
So I am hoping and praying for a 2 out of 3 series against the Diamondbacks in the Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, I think that it's going to be a dogfight because right after that series, we're heading down to Pittsburgh to lock up against the Pirates and some of their fine young pitchers.
Yeah, and like you said, it's 3 series, and they're all National League series, so or interleague series, whatever you want to call it. Which is not normally people we face a whole bunch of times. So and like I said, I'll take 2 out of 3. I'm hoping for that, but I mean, I don't expect us to easily sweep them. Would I root for a sweep? Yeah, but I root for a sweep all the time. But I'm reasonable about
2 out of 3, I'd be happy with.
Right.
We have eclipsed the 1 hour mark on this stream, and I want to say thank you for everybody who has hopped up, Jonathan and Sean, and thanks to all of you guys that are viewing. The chats have been coming in hot. Appreciate your support. If you like the stream, hit the like button. I don't know how many we have thus far. Comment afterwards. I will try my best to answer anything that you have. And if you think that this content is something that would be value added to any of your friends out there, please share the stream. I appreciate it. One other note: Dom Smith signed with us after opting out of his contract.
Right.
He signed a minor league deal. He is not on the 40-man roster, but he is more bench depth for us.
Right. And, I thought it was funny because, he opted out for free agency when he almost had the job, when it was going to be between him and Ben Rice. And it probably were edging toward Ben Rice, and he probably was like, hey, let me try to see somewhere else. But then I guess nobody took the bite.
Well, you know who he was going to edge out? Was Pablo Reyes. Pablo Reyes, if he would have stayed here, I don't believe Reyes would have been in the major leagues on the active Yankee roster.
No, it probably wouldn't. Because it would have been it would have been between Peraza and Reyes has options versus.
So, thank you, and I am going to end our stream here. Have a great Yankee day, and don't forget to catch the boys tonight. Series is going to be a good one, and it's going to test us.
Oh yes, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Exactly. Have a great day, guys.